Used to be." "Yeigh, so it done, mester," observed old Mitton. "It does not appear to have been disturbed, at all events," cried Nicholas, dismounting and examining it. "It would seem not," cried Nowell; "and yet it certainly is not in its old place." "Yo are mistaken, mester," observed Jem Device. "Ey knoa t' land weel, an this stone has stood where it does for t' last 20 year. Han't it, neighbours?" "Yeigh, yeigh," responded several voices. "Well, let us go on to the next stone," said Potts, looking rather blank. Accordingly they went forward, the hinds exchanging significant looks, and Roger Nowell and Nicholas carefully examining their respective maps. "These landmarks exactly tally with my plan," said the squire, as they arrived at the third stone. "But not with mine," said Nowell. "This stone ought to be 200 yards to the right. Some trickery has been practised." "Impossible!" exclaimed the squire. "These ponderous stones could never have been moved. Besides, there are several persons here who know every inch of the ground, and will give you their unbiassed testimony. What say you, my men? Are these the old boundary stones?" All answered in the affirmative, except old Mitton, who still raised a dissenting voice. "They be t' old boundary marks, sure enough," he said, "but they're neaw i' their owd places." "It is quite clear that the 20 acres belong to Mistress Nutter," observed Nicholas, "and that you must content yourself with 10, Master Nowell. Make an entry to that effect, Master Potts, unless you will have the ground measured." "No, it is needless," replied the magistrate, sharply. "Let us go on." During this survey, some of the features of the country appeared changed to the rustics, but how, or in what way, they could not precisely tell, and they were easily induced by James Device to give their testimony in Mistress Nutter's favour. A small rivulet was now reached, and another halt being called upon its sedgy banks, the plans were again consulted. "What have we here, Master Potts, marks or boundaries?" inquired Richard, with a smile. "Both," replied Potts, angrily. "This rivulet, which I take to be Moss Brook, is a boundary, and that sheepfold, and the two posts standing in a line with it, are marks. But hold, how is this?" he cried, regarding the plan in dismay. "The 5 acres of waste land should be on the left of the brook." "It would doubtless suit Master Nowell better if it were so," said Nicholas; "but as they chance to be on the right, they belong to Mistress Nutter. I merely speak from the plan." "Your plan is naught, sir," cried Nowell, furiously. "By what foul practice these changes have been wrought, I pretend not to say, though I can give a good guess. But the audacious witch who has thus deluded me shall bitterly rue it." "Hold, hold, Master Nowell," replied Nicholas. "I can make great allowance for your anger, which is natural considering your disappointment, but I will not permit such unwarrantable insinuations to be thrown out against Mistress Nutter. You agreed to abide by Sir Ralph Assheton's award, and you must not complain if it is made against you. Do you imagine that this stream could have changed its course in a single night, or that yon sheepfold has been removed to the further side of it?" "I do," replied Nowell. "And so do I," cried Potts. "It has been accomplished by the aid of " but feeling himself checked by a glance from the reeve, he stammered out, "of Mother Demdike." "You declared just now that marks, meres, and boundaries were unremovable, Master Potts," said the reeve, with a sneer. "You have altered your opinion." The crestfallen attorney was dumb. "Master Richard Nowell must find some better plea than the imputation of witchcraft to set aside Mistress Nutter's claim," observed Richard. "Yeigh, that he mun," cried James Device, and the hinds who supported him. The magistrate bit his lip with vexation. "There is witchcraft in it, I repeat," he said. "Yeigh, that there be," responded old Mitton. But the words were scarcely uttered when he was felled to the ground by the bludgeon of James Device. "Ey'd serve thee i' the same way for 2 pins," said Jem, regarding Potts with a savage look. "No violence, Jem," cried Nicholas, authoritatively. "You do harm to the cause you would serve by your outrageous conduct. Beg pardon, squire, but I winna hear lies told about Mistress Nutter." "No one shall speak ill on her here," cried the hinds. "Well, Master Nowell," said Nicholas, "are you willing to concede the matter at once, or will you pursue the investigation further?" "I will ascertain the extent of the mischief done to me before I stop," rejoined the magistrate, angrily. "Forward, then!" cried Nicholas. "Our course now lies along this footpath, with a croft on the left, and an old barn on the right. Here the plans correspond, I believe, Master Potts." The attorney yielded a reluctant assent. "There's a small spring and trough by the right, and we come to a limestone quarry; then by a plantation called Cat Gallows Wood, so named because some troublesome mouser has been hanged there, I suppose; and next by a deep moss pit called Swallow Hole. All right, eh, Master Potts? We shall now enter upon Worston Moor, and come to the hut occupied by Jem Device, who can, it is presumed, speak positively as to its situation." "Very true," cried Potts, as if struck by an idea. "Let the rascal step forward. I wish to put a few questions to him regarding his tenement. I think I shall catch him now," he added, in a low tone, to Nowell. "Here I be," cried Jem, stepping up with an insolent and defying look. "What do you want with me?" "First of all, I would caution you to speak the truth," commenced Potts, impressively, "as I shall take down your answers in my memorandum book, and they will be produced against you hereafter." "If he utters a falsehood, I will commit him," said Roger Nowell, sharply. "Speak civilly, and I will give you a civil answer," rejoined Jem, in a surly tone; "but I am not to be browbeaten." "First, then, is your hut in sight?" "No," replied Jem. "But you can point out its situation, I suppose?" pursued the attorney. "Certainly I con," replied Jem, without heeding a significant glance cast at him by the reeve. "It stands beyond yon clough at t' side o' t' moor, wi' a rindle i' front." "Now mind what you say, sirrah," cried Potts. "You are quite sure that the hut is behind the clough, and the rindle, which, being interpreted from your base vernacular, I believe means a gutter, in front of it?" The reeve coughed slightly, but failed to attract Jem's attention, who replied quickly that he was quite sure of the circumstances. "Very well," said Potts. "You have all heard the answer. He is quite sure as to what he states. Now, then, I suppose you can tell whether the hut looks to the north or the south, whether the door opens to the moor or to the clough, and whether there is a path leading from it to a spot called Hook Cliff?" At this moment Jem caught the eye of the reeve, and the look given him by the latter completely puzzled him. "I dunna reetly recollect which way it looks," he answered. "What, you prevaricating rascal! Do you pretend to say you do not know which way your own dwelling stands?" thundered Roger Nowell. "Speak out, sirrah, or Sparshot shall take you into custody at once." "I am ready, your worship," replied the beadle. "Well, then," said Jem, imperfectly comprehending the signs made to him by the reeve, "the hut looks neither to the south nor to the north, but to the west. It faces the moor, and there is a path through it to Hook Cliff." As he finished speaking, he saw from the reeve's angry gestures that he had made a mistake, but it was now too late to recall his words. However, he determined to make an effort. "Now I bethink me, I'm not sure that I'm right," he said. "You must be sure, sirrah," said Roger Nowell, bending his awful brows upon him. "You cannot be mistaken as to your own dwelling. Take down his description, Master Potts, and proceed with your interrogatories, if you have any more to put to him." "I wish to ask him whether he has been at home to day," said Potts. "Answer, fellow!" thundered the magistrate. Before replying, Jem would fain have consulted the reeve, but the latter had turned away in displeasure. Not knowing whether a lie would serve his turn, and fearing he might be contradicted by some of the bystanders, he said he had not been at home for 2 days, but had returned the night before at a late hour from Whalley, and had slept at Rough Lee. "Then you cannot tell what changes may have taken place in your dwelling during your absence?" said Potts. "Of course not," replied Jem; "boh ey dunna see how any changes can happen in so short a time." "But I do, if you do not, sirrah," said Potts. "Be pleased to give me your plan, Master Nowell. I have a further question to ask him," he added, after consulting it for a moment. "I win answer nowt more," replied Jem, gruffly. "You will answer whatever questions Master Potts may put to you, or you are taken into custody," said the magistrate, sternly.